In a quiet suburban neighborhood, Sarah, a caring housewife, seemed to have a perfect life with her husband, David, a police officer, and their bright college daughter, Emily. Emily was dating James, a polite and charming fellow student who often came to visit. But beneath this happy surface, there were hidden desires and dark secrets waiting to come out in surprising ways. Sarah often sat at the kitchen table, staring out the window as David rushed off to work each morning. She had become accustomed to the loneliness that filled the house once he left. Emily was busy with her college life, and David's demanding job meant he was rarely home before dark. Sarah's once lively home felt increasingly like a cold, empty space. At first, James's frequent visits brought some warmth back into the house. He was always polite, offering to help Sarah with chores or sitting with her to chat while he waited for Emily to come home. Over time, those chats grew longer, and Sarah found herself opening up to him more than she ever did with David. James was a kind listener, and Sarah felt seen in a way she hadn't in years. But it wasn't just the conversations that lingered. There were glances that lasted too long, small touches that felt too intimate. Sarah couldn't stop thinking about James. Emily brought him over. She felt herself becoming more anxious, more drawn to him. It wasn't just his looks, though he was undeniably handsome. It was the way he listened to her, how he seemed to genuinely care about what she said. Sarah hadn't felt that kind of attention from David in years. One afternoon, when Emily was running late, James arrived earlier than expected. He smiled as he walked in, his shirt unbuttoned, his hair a little messy from the wind outside. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. As they sat down to chat, the conversation drifted into personal territory again. James asked about her life before she became a housewife. Sarah hesitated but opened up, telling him about her dreams, how she once wanted to travel the world, how she had felt trapped in her current life. James listened closely, his eyes never leaving hers. "You deserve more, Sarah," he said soft, his voice filled with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. Sarah felt the undeniable attraction to James, even as guilt gnawed at her. One evening, while Emily studied late, she and James found themselves alone in the living room, the tension palpable. As James stood to leave, he turned to her, confessing, "I can't stop thinking about you." Sarah's heart raced. She knew she should say no, but instead, she froze as he closed the distance between them and kissed her. The kiss was soft but electrifying, awakening feelings she hadn't felt in years. However, as they pulled apart, reality hit her hard. This can't happen," she whispered, heart racing with fear and guilt, though deep down, she knew it already had. The following days were a blur of guilt and longing for Sarah. She tried to avoid James, but with Emily bringing him over frequently, anxiety twisted her stomach. She couldn't shake the memory of their kiss, which had made her feel alive, but the accompanying shame was overwhelming. Despite her efforts, their secret affair continued, marked by stolen glances and brief moments of passion whenever they were alone. Sarah knew she was risking everything: her marriage, her friendship with Emily, and her own identity, but the thrill of the forbidden only drew her in deeper. Each kiss and touch electrified her, leaving her breathless but terrified. How long could they keep this secret? What if Emily found out, or David noticed the subtle shifts in her behavior? The weight of deception grew heavier each day, and Sarah sensed that the truth would soon come crashing down. Sarah's worst fears came true when Emily returned home early to find her alone with James. The house was quiet, and the tension between Sarah and James was strong. As they kissed, Emily stood frozen in the doorway, shock on her face. "Mom? James?" she said, her voice trembling with hurt. Tears filled her eyes as she backed away, unable to process what she had seen. Sarah's heart shattered. She wanted to explain, but no words came. When James reached for Emily, she screamed, "Don't touch me," and ran out of the house. Sarah collapsed in a chair, realizing she had ruined everything. What once felt thrilling now felt like a complete disaster. After Emily discovered the affair, the days were tense and filled with silence. She shut herself in her room or left the house for hours, refusing to speak to Sarah or James. Sarah felt like a ghost, haunted by her choices. David, sensing something was wrong, began to question what was happening in their home. His sharp instincts, honed as a police officer, led him to piece together the truth. One evening, David confronted Sarah with cold anger, demanding to know the truth about her and James. Unable to hide any longer, Sarah confessed everything, knowing it would destroy her family. Furious, David stormed out of the house with his service weapon. He found James at his apartment, and in a moment of madness, he shot him. The gunshot echoed through the night, marking the end of their family's normal life forever. The aftermath was devastating. David was arrested for murder, leaving Sarah to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. Emily refused to forgive her, cutting ties with both her parents. The once perfect family was torn apart by secrets, betrayal, and violence. Now, Sarah lived with the heavy burden of knowing her choices had led to this tragedy. The love and excitement she once felt had turned into the darkest chapter of her life.